Title: My Stepmother Banned Me from Dad's Funeral. A week later, she and her spoiled kids blocked me from the will reading. She laughed coldly. Only real family members are allowed here. I said nothing, just calmly handed the lawyer a sealed envelope. I stood outside the mahogany doors of my father's lawyer's office, rain dripping from the edge of my coat. Inside, laughter. Her laughter. That sharp, brittle sound that always made my skin crawl. Only real family members are allowed here, she'd said a week earlier at his funeral, blocking the chapel doors with her lacquered nails and smug powdered face. I still hear her voice when I close my eyes, sweet poison dipped in perfume. I didn't argue then, I just turned away, calm on the outside, even as something inside me cracked like ice underfoot. That was the moment I decided she'd never laugh at me again. My father wasn't perfect, but he was mine. Before her, he used to hum Sinatra while cooking eggs at midnight. We'd sit on the porch and talk about everything: life, music, women, and how trust was a man's true wealth. Then she appeared. Silk dress, practiced smile, and eyes that said, "She's already figured out the ending." At first, I tried. God knows I tried. I wanted him to be happy. When she called me sweetheart and bought me cufflinks for my graduation, I believed her. But love doesn't cover greed, and trust doesn't survive signatures. I found out the truth by accident. A year before he died, I stopped by unannounced. He was in his study, asleep in his chair. On his desk, open, was a new will. Her name first, her children next, mine erased. The pen still lay across the page. She must have felt my presence because she appeared in the doorway, smiling faintly, robe tied too tight. "He wanted to make sure we're all taken care of," she'd said softly. I left that night without a word. But from then on, I stopped being his son in her eyes. I became an obstacle. When he died, she made her move fast. Funeral arrangements, estate lockdown, lawyers who wouldn't take my calls. Every message I sent came back filtered through her. So I watched, listened, waited. Grief has a strange way of sharpening the mind. I started collecting things, quiet things, emails, bank statements, voice recordings. I learned about her transfers to a private account under her eldest son's name, about the sudden sale of one of my father's properties 3 weeks before he died, a property he'd promised to me. And then there was the biggest secret, the one she never imagined could be traced, a hidden life insurance policy, signed before he remarried, unchanged, still naming me as the sole beneficiary. She didn't even know it existed. By the time the will reading came, I was ready. They were all there, her and her 2 sons, identical in arrogance, lounging like they owned the place. She wore black, of course, but diamonds caught the light like tiny lies on her fingers. When I walked in, her face tightened. "You weren't invited," she said. "I know." "Then leave." I didn't. I just nodded at the lawyer, a man I'd spoken to quietly 2 nights before. "I have something that should be part of the record." That's when I handed him the envelope. Thick, sealed, stamped with my father's initials. She laughed, sharp and dismissive. "You think you can change what's already done?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The lawyer opened it. Inside were 2 documents. One, a notarized addendum to the will dated 6 months before my father's death, reinstating my inheritance and removing hers. And 2, a full financial disclosure of her fraudulent transfers, signed and verified. The room went still. The lawyer adjusted his glasses. "Mrs. Graham, this is your husband's final amendment, witnessed and filed with my office. It supersedes the version you submitted." Her color drained like ink in water. "That's impossible," she whispered. "It's not," I said softly. "He mailed me a copy. Said he wanted me to hold on to it, just in case something happened." Her eldest son stood. "You forged this." The lawyer shook his head. "It's legitimate. Verified by the notary and 2 witnesses." I watched her crumble in real time, eyes darting, voice cracking, a queen watching her kingdom collapse. And then I added the final twist. "I should also mention," I said, pulling out a small USB drive, "these contain recordings of your calls arranging those property transfers. I've already sent copies to the executor and the police." Silence. She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. Not as the quiet boy she'd dismissed, but as something colder, smarter. For once, she didn't have a word to say. When I left the office, she was still sitting there, motionless, her sons arguing in low, panicked voices. Papers scattered across the table like the remains of a game she thought she'd won. Outside, the rain had stopped. The air felt lighter. People talk about revenge like it's fire, bright, consuming, dangerous. But they forget the other kind, the slow burn that turns to light. I didn't ruin her. She did that herself. I just opened the window and let everyone see. A week later, the news broke. Fraud investigation, estate frozen, her assets seized. The house she'd stolen from under my name listed for auction. I didn't attend the hearing, didn't need to. Justice doesn't always need witnesses, just timing. Sometimes I think about my father. I wonder if he knew what she really was, if he saw it coming and left that final letter as his way of saying goodbye and sorry. Maybe that's why he sent it to me. Maybe he trusted that I'd know what to do, and I did. She once told me, with that cruel little smirk, that real family isn't about blood, it's about loyalty. She was right. That's why she'll never be part of mine. When I walked away from that office, I didn't look back. I didn't need to see her fall. I'd already heard the sound. It's quiet, final, like a door closing. And this time, I'm the one who locked it.